Amazon's Lord of the Rings series, The Rings of Power, is already getting destroyed, and it isn't even out for several months. We all saw the backlash and the reaction to the trailer, to the stories that are coming out about exactly what they're focusing on for this series, how they're going to betray J.R.R. Tolkien, and in fact, they're not going to stick to the lore. They're not going to stick to the canon of Middle-earth. Instead, they're going to do whatever they want, and they're going to update it for the modern era. But one of the most interesting things throughout this entire thing has been what sites decide that they're going to shill for Amazon's Rings of Power series. We know how this trailer went. 168,000 downvotes to only 109,000 upvotes. And on a video like this that gets 30 million views, that debuts during the Super Bowl, this is not something you ever see for something as big as Lord of the Rings. For a trailer of this importance and this much money behind it, you never see ratios like this. This is staggering, and it shows that truly the vast majority of people do not like what Amazon is doing. But one group has stuck with Amazon throughout the entire thing. And that is, of course, the OneRing.net. Lord of the Rings fan site describes J.R.R. Tolkien as woke. And then, of course, they came after fans. They've attacked fans. They've gotten very upset at YouTubers through this entire process as well. And that's why we're talking about them today, because the OneRing.net decided to take a couple shots at some content creators. They decided that they're just not making the right type of content, so they can't possibly be Lord of the Rings fans. Critical Drinker retweets them, and we're gonna get into this entire thread. Dude, you're done. You have 140K followers, but struggle to get 100 likes on anything you post. Nobody listens to you anymore because you sold your soul and self-respect to a giant corporation who also doesn't care about you. Hope it was worth it. And we should probably add, go away now. That's probably what we should add in there. There's a terrible accent, but whatever. We're leaving. I'm not cutting that. But here's the OneRing.net. We've challenged these content creators to demonetize their Lord of the Rings content to show their love comes from a place of true passion, that hate has no place in fandom. Thus far, it's only monetized reactionary content. And before we go to the rest of this thread, let's just see. We'll click on Dan Vask here, my man Dan Vask, so we can see this glorious ratio. 140 comments to only 3 likes. It's not looking very good for you guys. I don't think what you're saying is really resounding with your audience, the OneRing.net. But let's go ahead and look. Let's look, shall we, at what started this. The OneRing.net breaking. HBO announces the debut of Game of Thrones spinoff House of Dragons will be just 12 days before Amazon's billion-dollar Lord of the Rings Rings of Power. The 2 giant fantasy shows will be going head-to-head, dragon to dragon. Light spoilers. And, you know, I don't... whatever, I guess. I don't think there's as much excitement for this prequel as people think there is. I really don't. I think that Game of Thrones did so much damage to their brand that I don't think it's going to be necessarily the audience they thought when this thing started going into production. But I guess we'll see. Bad counter program for Warner Brothers, but Lord of the Rings haters are already loving this. Again, I don't know if it really does that much in the streaming era to combat that, to be like, oh, look at the competition. This guy comes in and says, Lord of the Rings haters, that's a thing. Sadly, it's a thing now. There's a big difference between Lord of the Rings haters and people who hate what Amazon is going to do and is doing and has admitted to doing to Lord of the Rings, as we will quickly find out. I can't imagine the sad insides of someone who would adopt such things in their mind. Mental illness has many facets, seemingly. Speaking of mental illness, literally all of the woke losers that we're talking about that are destroying Amazon's Lord of the Rings, those are the people that have true mental illness. Trolling is fun, ironically, is their name. 9 followers. The haters are the ones who love the books and the Peter Jackson films, but think that Amazon shows look god-awful. The reasons for it are because they love Lord of the Rings and they don't like changes to the lore and the world. Now they're labeled Lord of the Rings haters when they only dislike Rings of Power. And I should say what's being presented with Rings of Power. One Ring says, thank you for that insight. Trolling is fun. And for the both sides perspective. We've yet to see that side proclaim anything they love about Lord of the Rings. It's very interesting that they bring that up and embarrassing for them. I just thought about this as I recorded what had it pulled up before. Let me pull up Critical Drinker's YouTube channel. I knew we had it here, so I found it. Now, I had to look for a second because this is now unlisted because it was a live stream. Oftentimes, content creators unlist their live stream because they're so long, it can kind of hurt your algorithm. But I knew that this happened today. So here it is, streamed live 8 hours ago as I'm making this video. Happy hour number 50, The Return of the King, featuring Nerdrotic, Heelverse, Babyface, and Mauler. This is where Critical Drinker, Mauler, Az, and Gary from Nerdrotic, who's a main focus of this criticism from theonering.net, literally did a stream where they were talking about how much they love Return of the King. And they've done all the movies at this point. Gary has talked about Lord of the Rings so many times and why he loves it. I know just some guy is out there. He does like a yearly reread of everything, as Gary does as well. So many people are out there saying what they love about Lord of the Rings constantly, all the time. But it's not enough for the woke OneRing.net. Really? Channels like Nerdrotics have been covering the changes to the show and read the books yearly, and the Silmarillion every other year. Just some guy as well. I myself can tell you several things that I love. Those two tagged have yet to proclaim all the things they love about Lord of the Rings. Their brand is something else, but you know that. Yeah, their brand is loving all things nerdy. If you actually watched and listened to their videos, you'd regularly hear things they love about Lord of the Rings. Nerdrotic literally calls his fan base the Fellowship and has done several streams just talking about how much he loves Lord of the Rings. I've watched enough videos, seen enough tweets from both sides. Having concern for the direction the Amazon show is going doesn't mean the person hates Lord of the Rings. It means they love the world enough to notice something seems wrong. And that leads the OneRing.net to this spot, where they say they would demonetize their content if they truly loved it. Isn't that interesting? Coming from the same people who did a stream for the Rings of Power trailer watch party in partnership with Prime Video. Isn't that interesting that the website that wants to maintain their access is bitching about people monetizing their content when you're literally like sidling right up next to Prime Video to shill for Amazon's Rings of Power? This website is a disgrace. They're disgusting, and Critical Drinker, rightly so, destroyed them. Absolutely destroyed them, as well as so many other people. Look at all these quote tweets, 32 different quote tweets. I guarantee you, all of them are likely bashing them. 3 likes to 140 comments from a Twitter account that has 142,000 followers. Embarrassing, but that's nothing new for the OneRing.net. Even people that have 9 followers ratio the hell out of them, right? Destroy them. Because the fans are firmly on that side. The fans are firmly against OneRing.net and against what Amazon's doing to these stories. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for watching, everyone. And a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.